I stood in the glass-walled office, my hands trembling as Derek, my boss, slid a termination letter across his desk. His smirk was cold, triumphant. "You're not cutting it, Alice," he said, but his eyes told a different story. I'd built the idea that made his startup millions, and now he was erasing me. As I walked out, past my coworkers' stunned faces, I felt the weight of betrayal, but also a spark of something darker. He thought he'd won. He had no idea what I was capable of. I can still feel the hum of that Austin morning, the way the startup's open-plan office buzzed with keyboards and half-finished coffee cups. At 29, I was Alice, the software engineer who lived for code, for the thrill of turning chaos into something beautiful. Our company, Spark Vibe, was a tech darling, all exposed brick and ping-pong tables, but beneath the hype, it was a pressure cooker. I thrived in it, until the day it spit me out. The termination meeting wasn't a surprise, not really. I'd felt the shift for weeks. Derek's clipped emails, his sidelong glances and stand-ups, the way he'd stopped asking for my input. But nothing prepared me for the cold precision of his words. "Your performance has been lacking," he said, leaning back in his chair, his tailored blazer a stark contrast to my jeans and hoodie. "We're letting you go." I stared at the letter, my name in bold, the words blurring. Lacking. My voice was steady, but inside, I was unraveling. "I built Pulse, Derek. The app that got us the Series B funding. You know that." His smirk didn't waver, but his eyes flickered, a tell I'd come to recognize. Pulse was a team effort, Alice. Don't overestimate your role. You've been distracted, unreliable. This is for the best. Unreliable. The word stung, a knife twisted by his gaslighting. I wanted to scream, to list every late night I'd spent coding, every breakthrough I'd delivered. But the air in his office was suffocating, his confidence a wall I couldn't breach. I stood, my legs shaky, and grabbed the letter. "This isn't over," I said, my voice low, a promise I didn't yet know how to keep. The walk to my desk was a gauntlet. Heads turned, whispers followed. My coworker Lena, her eyes wide-mouthed. "What happened?" I shook my head, stuffing my laptop and notebooks into my bag. The Pulse prototype, my baby, the app that predicted user behavior with eerie accuracy, was still live on the company's servers, its success now Derek's to claim. I felt like I'd been gutted, my work stolen, my worth erased. Outside, the Texas sun was relentless, mocking my despair. I sat in my beat-up hatchback, the termination letter crumpled in my fist. My phone buzzed, a text from my mom. "How's work, sweetie?" I couldn't answer. Not yet. The shame was too raw, the betrayal too sharp. Derek had taken my idea, my job, my place in the world I'd fought to build. But as I drove away, a spark ignited in my chest, not just anger, but defiance. He thought he'd buried me. He didn't know I was already digging my way out. That night, my apartment was a refuge and a prison. It was a small loft, cluttered with plants and secondhand furniture, my coding books stacked on every surface. I poured a glass of cheap wine, my hands still trembling, and opened my laptop. The Pulse codebase was locked behind Nexlify servers, but I had backups, early drafts, design notes, emails where I'd pitched the concept to Derek. I scrolled through them, my heart racing. There was, time-stamped 2 years ago. "Alice, this is brilliant. Let's run with it." His words, his approval, now a lie. I leaned back, Milo, my tabby, curling against my leg. The memory of Derek's smirk burned in my mind, but so did the applause at our last demo, when investors had called Pulse revolutionary. My idea. My code. I'd poured my soul into it, and he'd stolen it without a flinch. The injustice was a weight, but it was also a fuel. I wasn't done. I'd find a way to make him pay. My phone buzzed again, a Slack message from Lena, sent from her personal account. "Alice, I'm so sorry. Derek's telling everyone you slacked off. It's BS.
Call me.
I stared at the words, a flicker of hope piercing my despair. Lena knew the truth. Maybe others did too.
I didn't call, not yet.
I needed to process, to plan. But her message was a lifeline, a reminder I wasn't alone. The next day, I forced myself to move. I couldn't afford to spiral, not with rent due, and my savings thin. I updated my resume, my fingers stiff as I typed Spark Vibe, software engineer. The words felt like a betrayal, a gloss over the theft of my work. I applied to a few jobs, but my heart wasn't in it. Every click was a reminder of Derek's voice. You're not cutting it. Doubt crept in, whispering I'd never recover, that I'd always be the girl who got fired. But then I opened my email, searching for distraction, and found an old message from a mentor, Priya, a senior engineer who'd left Spark Vibe a year ago. You're a star, Alice. Don't let this place dim you. Her words, sent after a tough project, hit me like a lifeline. I typed a quick reply, vague but honest. Rough day. Got let go. Could use advice. I hit send, hope flickering again. Priya had seen through Derek's charm. Maybe she'd know how to fight back. As the sun set, painting my loft gold, I sat at my desk, a notebook open. I jotted down what I knew. Derek had claimed Pulse, fired me to silence me, and spun a lie about my performance. I had evidence, emails, drafts, maybe Lena's testimony. It wasn't enough, not yet, but it was a start. I wasn't just fighting for my job, I was fighting for my truth. And deep down, I knew Derek had made a mistake. He'd underestimated me, and that was a crack I'd widen until his world came crashing down. The days after my firing were a haze, each one a battle to keep despair at bay. My Austin loft, once a haven of creativity, felt like a cage, its walls closing in with every unanswered job application. But as I sat at my desk, Milo purring beside me, my laptop open to those early Pulse emails, I let myself drift back to the beginning, when the idea was mine, when I believed in Spark Vibe, when Derek's betrayal was just a shadow I couldn't yet see. Those memories were raw, a mix of pride and pain, but they held the truth of what I'd built. And why I had to fight. 2 years ago, Spark Vibe was a scrappy startup, all ambition and chaos. I was 27, a software engineer fresh from a coding bootcamp, hungry to prove myself. The office was a converted warehouse, its brick walls vibrating with the energy of late-night pizza runs and whiteboard marathons. I loved it, the mess, the possibility, the chance to turn my ideas into something real. My desk was a shrine to my work, sticky notes, dog-eared notebooks, a monitor glowing with lines of code. I wasn't just coding, I was dreaming. Pulse started as a spark in my mind during a sleepless night. I'd been reading about behavioral psychology, fascinated by how people made choices. What if an app could predict user preferences, not just react to them? I sketched the concept on a napkin. An algorithm that analyzed micro-interactions, clicks, pauses, scrolls, to tailor content with uncanny precision. It was bold, maybe too bold, but I believed it could change how apps connected with people. I spent weeks refining it, coding prototypes in my off hours, testing them on dummy data. My heart raced every time I ran a simulation, watching the algorithm learn, adapt, nail predictions. This was mine. A piece of my soul, in every line of code. I pitched it to Derek in a cramped meeting room, my palms sweaty, but my voice steady. He was 40, all charisma and sharp suits, the kind of boss who could sell ice to a glacier. His hazel eyes lit up as I walked him through the demo, my laptop screen flashing with graphs. Alice, this is brilliant, he said, leaning forward, his smile wide. This could put Spark Vibe on the map. Let's run with it. That moment was electric, a validation I'd chased since my first coding class. I threw myself into Pulse, working 12-hour days, fueled by coffee and adrenaline. My team, Lena, a UX designer, and Raj, a back-end engineer, became my family, our late nights filled with debates over features and bad takeout. Lena would sketch interfaces while I tweaked algorithms, Raj muttering about server loads. We were a unit, but Pulse was my vision, my drive. I didn't mind the exhaustion. Every bug fixed, every test passed, was a step towards something revolutionary. But the workplace wasn't all camaraderie. Spark Vibe's startup sheen hit a cutthroat edge. Deadlines were brutal, and Derek's charm had a dark side. He'd praise you one day, then ice you out the next if you missed a deliverable. I saw it with others. Engineers sidelined, designers reassigned after questioning him. I told myself I was different. Pulse was too valuable, my work too undeniable. Naive, maybe, but I believed talent would protect me. The first warning signs were subtle. Derek started taking credit in meetings, calling Pulse our breakthrough, without mentioning me. I'd correct him gently. I designed the core algorithm. And he'd nod, but his smile was tight, his eyes flickering. Lena noticed it too, whispering once, "He's hogging the spotlight, Alice. Watch your back." I brushed it off. I was too deep in the code, too focused on making Pulse perfect. Then came the gaslighting. During a demo for early investors, Derek presented my slides, my data, as if they were his. I stood in the back, my stomach twisting, as he fielded questions I'd prepped him for. Afterward, I confronted him, my voice shaking. "Derek, that was my work.
Why didn't you mention me?"
He laughed, clapping my shoulder. "Relax, Alice. It's a team effort. Investors don't care about the details, they want the big picture. You're doing great." His tone was warm, but his words cut. I felt small, my contribution reduced to a footnote. I wanted to push back, but doubt crept in. Was I being selfish? Was this just how startups worked? The undermining grew bolder. Derek reassigned parts of Pulse to other engineers, claiming I was spread too thin. He'd interrupt me in stand-ups, finishing my sentences with a patronizing, "What Alice means is..." My team saw it. Raj would roll his eyes. Lena would shoot me sympathetic looks, but no one spoke up. Derek was the sun we all orbited, his approval a currency we couldn't afford to lose. I doubled down, working harder, documenting every commit, every email, as if proof could shield me. The struggles weren't just professional. Pulse consumed me, leaving little room for a life outside Spark Vibe. My friends drifted. My dating life was non-existent. I'd call my mom in Houston, her voice bright but worried. "You sound tired, Alice. Are you happy?" I'd lie, saying I was fine, but I wasn't. I was pouring my soul into Pulse, and Derek's subtle thefts were eroding my confidence. I'd stare at my code late at night, Milo asleep on my desk, and wonder if I was enough. The hope that drove me, the dream of changing the world with my idea, was fraying, replaced by a gnawing fear that I was losing control. By the time Pulse launched its beta, it was a hit. Users raved, investors poured in $15 million, and Spark Vibe's valuation soared. At the launch party, Derek took the stage, his speech all we and our vision. My name wasn't mentioned. I stood in the crowd, clapping mechanically, my chest tight. Lena squeezed my arm, whispering, "This is your win, Alice." But it didn't feel like it. Derek's eyes met mine across the room, his smile sharp, almost daring me to challenge him. That was the moment I knew. He wasn't just undermining me. He was setting me up to disappear. Back in the present, my loft dim with evening light, I closed my laptop, those memories a fresh wound. The Pulse emails glowed on my screen, proof of my ownership, my passion. Derek had stolen my idea, my future, but he'd left crumbs of his betrayal, emails, notes, witnesses. I wasn't the naive coder I'd been 2 years ago. I was angry, awake, and ready to fight. As I jotted down names, Lena, Priya, maybe Raj, I felt a spark of hope, fragile but fierce. Derek thought he'd won. He had no clue what was coming. The Austin skyline glittered outside my loft window, but inside, I was drowning. The termination letter from Spark Vibes sat on my kitchen counter, its words a scar, performance issues. Effective immediately. At 29, I'd given everything to Pulse, the app that was my brainchild, my heart coded into algorithms. Now, Derek, my boss, had stolen it, claimed it as his own, and cast me out like I was nothing. The betrayal was a blade, slicing through my trust, my confidence, my sense of self. I was alone, unmoored, but somewhere in the wreckage, a quiet resolve was stirring, a whisper that this wasn't the end. The day it happened started like any other. Spark Vibe's office was a hive of energy, the air thick with the buzz of a major milestone. Pulse was set to pitch to a new round of investors, a make-or-break moment for our Series B funding. I'd spent weeks prepping, polishing the algorithm, drafting slides, rehearsing answers to every possible question. My desk was a battlefield of sticky notes and coffee stains, my eyes gritty from late nights. Lena had joked, "You're a machine, Alice," but her smile was proud. I felt it too. Pride, hope, the thrill of knowing Pulse was mine, even if Derek's shadow loomed larger every day. The pitch was in the main conference room, all glass walls and sleek furniture. I was supposed to present alongside Derek, my role as lead designer undeniable. But that morning, he called me into his office, his hazel eyes cold, his tailored blazer a barrier between us. "You're sitting this one out, Alice," he said, his voice smooth but sharp. "I'll handle the pitch. You've been distracted lately." I blinked, my stomach dropping. Distracted? Derek, I built Pulse. I know every line of code, every decision. I'm ready for this. He leaned back, his smirk familiar but chilling. "It's a team effort, Alice. Investors want a unified front, not a junior engineer hogging the spotlight. You'll get your chance later." The words hit like a slap, echoing his gaslighting from the past year. I wanted to argue, to remind him of my emails, my prototypes, but his tone was final, his power absolute. I nodded, my throat tight, and left his office, my hands trembling. Lena caught my eye across the bullpen, her brow furrowed, but I shook my head. I couldn't speak, not yet. I retreated to my desk, pretending to work, while inside I was screaming. The pitch was a success. I knew it before Derek announced it. The office erupted in cheers that afternoon, Slack channels flooding with confetti emojis. Pulse had secured $20 million, cementing Spark Vibe's rise. I should have been ecstatic, but I was numb, watching from the sidelines as Derek took the stage in our break room, his speech all our vision and my leadership. My name wasn't mentioned. Not once. Lena slid beside me, whispering, "This is bullshit, Alice. You should be up there." But I couldn't respond. The betrayal was sinking in, a slow poison. He wasn't just stealing credit. He was erasing me. I stayed late, hoping to confront him, to demand answers. The office was quiet, just the hum of servers and my own ragged breathing. I found Derek in his office, packing his briefcase, his face smug. "Alice, still here?" he said, his tone mocking. "You should head home. Big day." I stepped inside, my voice shaking but firm. "Why didn't you mention me? Pulse was my idea, Derek. My code. You know that." He sighed, like I was a child throwing a tantrum. "Don't be dramatic. You're part of the team, but I'm the face of this company. Investors trust me, not you. That's how it works." I felt the ground shift beneath me, his words a deliberate cut. "That's not fair," I said, my voice rising. "I deserve credit. I deserve to be seen." His eyes narrowed, a flicker of something dark, anger, maybe, or fear. "You're getting emotional, Alice. That's not professional. We'll talk tomorrow." He brushed past me, leaving me alone in his office, my heart pounding with a mix of rage and disbelief. The next morning, I was called to HR. I thought it was about the pitch, maybe a chance to clear the air. Instead, I found Derek and the HR manager, Karen, waiting in a sterile meeting room. Karen's voice was clinical as she slid a termination letter across the table. Alice, your performance has been inconsistent. We're letting you go. I stared at her, then at Derek, whose face was a mask of false regret. Inconsistent. I choked out. I built Pulse. I worked nights, weekends. This is because I called you out, isn't it? Derek's voice was calm, cutting. You've been struggling, Alice. Missing deadlines, clashing with the team. We can't afford that with our growth. It was a lie, a meticulously crafted one. I'd never missed a deadline. My team loved me. But Karen nodded, her pen tapping the letter. It's best for everyone. Please collect your things. Disbelief gave way to devastation. I felt like I was falling. The world I'd built, my code, my purpose, ripped away. I walked to my desk, my face burning as coworkers whispered. Lena tried to hug me, but I pulled away, too raw for comfort. Security escorted me out, my belongings in a cardboard box, the Pulse prototype now a ghost on their servers. In my car, I broke, sobs racking my body. I'd given Spark Vibe everything, and Derek had turned my passion into his profit, my trust into a weapon against me. That night, my loft was a tomb. I curled on my couch, Milo nudging my hand, but I couldn't feel him. The termination letter mocked me from the counter, its lies a mirror to my self-doubt. Was I really not enough? Had I overestimated my worth? The injustice was a scream trapped in my chest, but there was no one to hear it. I didn't call my mom. She'd worry, ask questions I couldn't answer. Lena texted, begging me to talk, but I silenced my phone. I was alone, my world reduced to the echo of Derek's smirk, his voice. You're not cutting it. I didn't sleep. Instead, I opened my laptop, scrolling through old emails, desperate for proof I wasn't crazy. There they were, my Pulse pitches, Derek's praise, my late-night commits. Each one was a shard of my truth, sharp and undeniable. I saved them, my hands trembling, not knowing how I'd use them but certain I would. Derek thought he'd won, that I'd fade quietly. He didn't know me at all. By dawn, I was exhausted but awake, my tears dried into something harder. I sat at my desk, a notebook open, and wrote 2 words. Make him pay. It wasn't a plan, not yet, but it was a promise. I'd lost my job, my idea, my faith in fairness, but I hadn't lost myself. Somewhere in the ruins of my heart, a flicker of resolve burned. I'd find a way to expose him, to reclaim what was mine. And when I did, Derek would learn what it meant to cross me. The Austin morning was heavy with heat, but inside my loft, I felt a shift. The termination letter from Spark Vibe, once a symbol of my unraveling, now sat beside my laptop, fuel for the fire growing in my chest. At 29, I'd been betrayed. My boss, Derek, had stolen Pulse, my groundbreaking app, and fired me under a lie of performance issues. The devastation had nearly broken me, but I was done crying. I was Alice, the coder who'd built $1 million idea, and I was clawing my way back. Every email I saved, every plan I sketched, was a step toward justice. Derek thought he'd erased me. He was about to learn how wrong he was. The first days after my firing were a fog of grief and self-doubt. I'd curl up with Milo, my tabby, replaying Derek's smirk, his voice. You're not cutting it. But by the 3rd day, something snapped. I couldn't let him win. I started small, practical, updating my resume, applying to jobs, though each click felt hollow. My savings were thin, rent looming, but survival wasn't enough. I wanted my truth back. I opened my laptop, pulling up my Pulse folder, a digital vault of my work. Early prototypes, emails with Derek's praise, commit logs proving I'd coded the core algorithm. It was a lifeline, proof I wasn't the failure he'd painted me as. My transformation began with a single email. Priya, my old mentor, had replied to my desperate message. Got let go. Could use advice. Her response was short but warm. I'm in Austin next week. Let's meet. Derek's a snake. Don't let him define you. Priya's words were a spark, igniting a quiet power I'd forgotten. She'd left Spark Vibe after clashing with Derek, her career thriving at a rival startup, Novex. If anyone understood his game, it was her. We met at a coffee shop downtown, the air thick with espresso and possibility. Priya, 38, was all sharp edges, cropped hair, piercing eyes, a confidence I envied. I spilled everything. Pulse's origin, Derek's gaslighting, the stolen credit, the firing. My voice cracked, but I didn't hide my anger. He's claiming my work, I said, my hands clenched around my mug. I have proof, but I don't know how to use it. Priya leaned forward, her gaze steady. Derek's a parasite. He did this to me, took my ideas, pushed me out.
You're not alone, Alice.
But you need to be smart. He's got lawyers, investors. Gather everything, emails, code, witnesses. Then hit him where it hurts, his reputation. Her words were a map, guiding me out of despair. She gave me a name, Maya Torres, a tech journalist who'd exposed shady startups. Reach out anonymously, Priya said. She'll dig if you give her a lead. I nodded, hope flickering, but doubt lingered. Could I really take on Derek? Priya's hand squeezed mine. You're stronger than you know. Don't let him steal your fire. Back home, I became a detective in my own life. I scoured my emails, saving every thread where Derek acknowledged Pulse as mine. One from 18 months ago was gold. Alice, your algorithm is the heart of this. You're killing it. I found commit logs, timestamped to show I'd written 80% of Pulse's core code. I even recovered a Slack exchange with Lena, where she'd written, "You're the genius behind Pulse." Derek's just the hype man. Each piece was a brick in my case, rebuilding my confidence. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't lacking. I was the one who'd made Spark Vibe soar. Investigating Derek revealed his weaknesses. I dug into Spark Vibe's public filings, buried on their investor portal. The Series B pitch deck credited the team for Pulse, but a leaked blog post from a junior marketer, quickly deleted, named me as the lead. I saved it, my heart racing. I also found whispers on Glassdoor, anonymous reviews calling Derek manipulative, accusing him of taking credit for others' work. It wasn't just me. He'd built his empire on stolen ideas, and I was starting to see the cracks. My second ally was Lena. She called one evening, her voice shaky. Alice, I can't stop thinking about what happened. Derek's lying to everyone, saying you were slacking. I know it's bullshit. What can I do? I hesitated, wary of dragging her into my fight, but her anger mirrored mine. Just tell me what you saw, I said. And if you hear anything, let me know. Lena agreed, promising to keep tabs on Derek's moves. She mentioned a rumor. Derek was pitching Pulse to a major tech conference, South by Southwest, next month. The thought of him parading my work on a global stage made my blood boil, but it also gave me a target. South by Southwest could be my moment. My quiet power grew with every step. I contacted Maya Torres, using a burner email, former Spark Vibe employee. CEO Derek Carter stole a major project from a designer and fired her to cover it up. I have evidence. Interested? Maya's reply was swift. Send me what you've got. Anonymity guaranteed. I didn't send the full packet. Not yet, but I shared the leaked blog post and a redacted email, enough to hook her. This smells like a story, she wrote back. Keep digging. The exchange was a rush, a sign I wasn't powerless. I was building something, a plan that was still hazy but gaining shape. Emotionally, I was a pendulum. Mornings brought clarity. I'd code side projects, small apps to keep my skills sharp, feeling like the Alice who dreamed up Pulse. Priya's encouragement echoed, don't let him dim you. But nights were brutal. I'd lie awake, Milo's purrs my only comfort, haunted by Derek's lies. What if I failed? What if I exposed him and no one cared? The isolation was suffocating. My mom kept texting, sensing something was wrong, but I couldn't tell her. Not until I'd won. A job offer from a small startup, CodeZap, was a lifeline. The pay was modest, but the team was kind, their CTO praising my portfolio. I accepted, starting next week, a step toward stability. But SparkVibe was unfinished business. I kept Lena's updates close. Derek was rewriting Pulse's origin story, claiming he'd conceived it. The audacity fueled me. I started a private notebook, outlining a plan. Gather evidence, secure allies, strike at South by Southwest. I didn't know how I'd pull it off, hijack his pitch, leak to Maya? But the suspense of it, the possibility, made me feel alive. One evening, I met Priya again, this time at a bar near her Novex office. She'd brought a surprise. Ethan, Novex's founder, a lanky 35-year-old with a reputation for taking on giants like SparkVibe. Priya told me your story, he said, his eyes sharp but kind. Derek's a thief. If you've got proof, Novex could amplify it. We're at South by Southwest too. My heart leapt. A rival founder, a platform. I didn't commit, but I shared a redacted email, testing the waters. Ethan nodded. This is big, Alice. When you're ready, we're here. The offer was a turning point. I wasn't just a fired coder anymore. I was a player in a bigger game. Back home, I added Ethan's name to my notebook, my plan sharpening. Derek's South by Southwest pitch was his throne, and I'd tear it down. I didn't know how, yet, but the suspense was a pulse in my veins, a rhythm of power reclaiming itself. I looked at Milo, his green eyes steady, and whispered, "He's going to regret this." For the first time in weeks, I believed it. The Austin night was electric, the South by Southwest conference pulsing through downtown like a heartbeat. I stood in the shadows of a packed convention hall, my heart pounding as Derek prepared to take the stage. At 29, I'd lost everything to him. My job, my idea, my confidence, when he stole Pulse, my app, and fired me under a lie. But I wasn't broken anymore. I was Alice, the engineer who'd built a revolution, and tonight, I'd tear his empire down. My evidence was locked and loaded, my allies in place, my plan a razor's edge. Derek thought he'd won. He was about to lose it all. The weeks leading up to South by Southwest were a crucible. I'd transformed from a shattered coder into a strategist, my loft a war room of evidence, emails, commit logs, the leaked blog post naming me as Pulse's creator. Lena's whispers from SparkVibe confirmed Derek's lies. He was pitching Pulse as his vision, erasing me entirely. Priya, my mentor, and Ethan, Novex's founder, had become my anchors, their belief in me a mirror to my growing strength. Maya Torres, the journalist, was my ace, her inbox brimming with my anonymized proof. I'd started at CodeZap, my new job a foothold, but my real focus was this moment. I wasn't just fighting for me, I was fighting for every coder Derek had silenced. My plan was poetic, a twist as cold as his betrayal. Derek's South by Southwest pitch was his coronation, a chance to sell Pulse to global investors. I'd hijack it, exposing his theft in front of the world. The how was risky, borderline reckless, but I'd spent nights learning new tricks, exploiting a backdoor in SparkVibe's presentation software, a vulnerability I'd spotted months ago. I'd coded a script to override Derek's slides, flashing my evidence, my Pulse emails, the blog post, a timeline of his lies, mid-pitch. Maya would amplify it, her article timed to drop as the room reeled. Ethan's Novex team, also at South by Southwest, would back me, offering a rival platform to investors. It was a gamble, but I was all in. Emotionally, I was a storm. Mornings at CodeZap rebuilt my confidence, my team loved my ideas, their trust a bomb. But nights brought fear. What if I was sued? What if I failed? I journaled to stay grounded. I'm enough. Pulse was mine. I'll take it back. Lena's texts kept me sane, her latest a bombshell. Derek's nervous. He knows you're out there. Priya's advice was steel. Hit hard, Alice. He's fragile. My mom, finally told about the firing, called daily, her pride. You're my fighter. A light in the dark. I wasn't alone anymore, but the weight of my plan was mine to carry. The convention hall was a sea of tech elite, VCs, founders, reporters, buzzing for Spark Vibe slot. I slipped in with a press pass Maya had secured, my blazer, and jeans a stark contrast to Derek's polished suit. My script was uploaded, hidden in the presentation system, set to trigger during his keynote. Maya sat near the front, her laptop open, her nod a silent signal. Ethan was in the wings, his Novex team ready to pitch if Spark Vibe crumbled. Lena, risking her job, had slipped me Derek's final slides, Pulse, rebranded as his masterpiece. My blood boiled, but I stayed calm, my finger hovering over my phone, the trigger for my script. Derek took the stage, his charisma dialed to 11. Pulse is my vision, he said, his slides flashing sleek mock-ups, my mock-ups. A predictive app that's redefining user engagement. The crowd leaned in, enthralled. I felt a pang of loss, my creation paraded as his, but I held steady. My moment was coming. Halfway through, I tapped my phone. The screen behind Derek flickered, his slide replaced by my first email. Alice, your algorithm is the heart of this.
D.
The crowd murmured, confused. Derek's smile froze as the next slide appeared, a commit log, my name on every line of Pulse's core code. Then the blog post. Alice Harper, lead designer. Gasps rippled through the hall. I tapped again and a timeline flashed. Derek's lies. How he stole Pulse. The final slide was simple, my words in bold. I built Pulse. He took it. Truth wins. Chaos erupted. Derek stammered, this is a prank, but the crowd was turning, phones out, tweeting #PulseTheft. Maya's article hit TechCrunch, detailing Derek's theft with my evidence, anonymized but damning. Reporters swarmed, investors whispered, their faces grim. Derek's eyes darted to me in the back, recognition dawning, but I held his gaze, my chin high. He'd underestimated me, and now he was falling. Ethan seized the moment, his Novex team distributing flyers. Join the real innovators. Investors, smelling blood, flocked to him. Spark Vibe stock tanked in real time, the hall a feeding frenzy. Derek fled the stage, his empire crumbling. I slipped out, my heart pounding but light, the weight of betrayal lifted. I'd done it, not just revenge, but justice, poetic and cold. The aftermath was a whirlwind. Maya's article went viral, sparking a reckoning in tech. Former Spark Vibe employees came forward, exposing Derek's pattern of theft. The board ousted him, and a class action lawsuit loomed. I stayed anonymous, letting the truth speak for itself. But Lena leaked my role to trusted colleagues, earning me quiet respect. Priya called, her voice proud. You rewrote the game, Alice. Ethan offered me a role at Novex, but I declined. I had bigger plans. I launched my own venture, PulsePoint, a startup built on my vision. Ethical tech, coder-driven. CodeZap's team joined me, their faith a foundation. We secured seed funding, my South by Southwest stunt a legend in investor circles. PulsePoint's first app, a wellness tracker, launched to rave reviews, my name, Alice Harper, front and center. I'd reclaimed my work, my worth, my future. Emotionally, I was transformed. The scars of Derek's betrayal remained, but they shaped my strength. I called my mom, her tears of pride echoing mine. Lena visited, our friendship deeper for the fight. I even forgave Spark Vibe's silence. Fear had bound them, not malice. As I stood in PulsePoint's small office, Milo napping on a chair, I looked at my team, coders like me, dreamers with fire. I'd been broken, but I'd rebuilt myself, stronger, fiercer. The final surprise came quietly. A week after South by Southwest, I received an email from Derek, now jobless, his name toxic. I underestimated you, Alice.
I'm sorry.
I read it, then deleted it, no reply needed. His apology was too late, his fall my victory. I stepped onto my balcony, the Austin skyline alive with possibility, and smiled. I'd turn betrayal into triumph, and the world would know my name, not as a victim, but as a force. Sometimes, the quietest coders write the loudest revolutions.